Howdy, good morning world. How are you all today? Oscar and I have just got back from a lovely run in the rain, and I decided to do my video inside the boat today because it's just a bit miserable out there trying to organise everything. So look, hey, today Oscar and I, that's him, that's Oscar if you haven't met Oscar before. Oscar and I are going to talk about listening, aren't we? Because we think listening is a really important thing. So why don't we tell everybody about listening? You're a good listener, aren't you? Yes, I know. So here's the thing about listening. I think it's one of the most important things that we can ever do is listen well and listen better than what we do. I've done 180 podcast episodes now. I've spoken to people all over the world, from people that have been raised and born in different cultures with different languages as their first language, with different backgrounds in life, from business people to people that have been digital nomads for a long time, all sorts of different people. But I find a common theme. People are really, in general, very bad listeners. That's what it comes down to, doesn't it? Eh? People are very bad listeners. And I say that with a lot of love attached, of course, don't I? Yep, because everything's sent with love. But look, the reality is that, including myself, before I started podcasting, I put myself in that category. And what podcasting has taught me is it's taught me the ability to truly listen to what people are saying, not just their words, but the expressions they're using, the emotions they're talking with, and what they're actually trying to communicate. And there's a lot more depth to a conversation when you're really a better listener. So I have trained myself, and I continue to train myself because it's an ongoing journey, this whole personal development stuff, as we all know. I'm just training myself on becoming a better and better listener. And it's adding so much value to my life, in business, in my personal life, in my relationships with my friends, everything. It's just adding a lot more depth to the connections that I have. And I think that's important for all of us. So have a think today. Do you think you're a good listener? If you do, reach out, and I'd love to have you on my podcast because I might be able to show you some tips. And I think that we can all really improve our ability to be listeners, good listeners. And I'm talking about being a good listener. So I think being a good listener can actually add a lot of value to your life. It can give you a lot more success than what you're having today. I can tell you that, because if you actually listen to people and put away that ego that wants to talk all the time, then you'll open doors that perhaps weren't going to open for you. In fact, I'll say they are going to open doors that you weren't going to open up before. What do you think? Hey, you're a good listener. So there we go. Today's video is about listening. Challenge yourself. Do you think you're a good listener? Ask your friends, your family members. Ask them to tell you the real truth and be authentic about it, whether they think you're a good listener or not. And before I go, I'm going to leave you some tips on how to become a better listener. When you next have a conversation, put your timer on your phone and actually time the conversation, and time how long you talk versus the other person. And I've done this on my podcast shows, and it's really interesting. By the time I go to the editing phase of my podcast and I listen to how much I talk versus how much the guest talk. And okay, the guest is on the show to talk. It's not about me. I understand that. But it's the willingness for the guest to have a conversation that I think is really important, because I think podcasting and all that stuff, any interaction that you have online, if there's a real genuine conversation going on, I think it's a lot more interesting. That's just my personal view, but I just think it's a lot more interesting than hearing one person going on and on and on all the time. Anyway, today, there we are. The topic is listening. Are you a good listener? I'll leave it with you on this beautiful, rainy, cold Saturday. You're going to say goodbye to everybody? Goodbye from Oscar and I. See ya.